Welcome to the North Shore Station. This is episode 8. We are back. Week 13 just happened. The Steelers took their first L of the season to the Washington football team. There's a lot to be said about that game. I personally have a lot to say. And then I know Lucas, he's got a lot to say about the Browns. Baker Mayfield looking kind of MVP caliber. Browns looking like playoff contenders, maybe even Super Bowl contenders. And, of course, we'll be focusing on that beautiful NFC East Watch. And then, of course, we have today's top 3, our newest segment. And today's topic is going to be QBs who would be elite at another position. Finally, the one that you want to see, the one you've stuck around every single time to listen to and made you a ton of money. The fadeaway 3 best bets of the weekend. I'm 13-7 all time against the spread. Not too bad. Lucas and Camden are doing pretty good themselves. Camden, he's been on a real hot streak the last couple weeks. So it's just free money right there, folks. You got to take it. Stay tuned until the very end for that. But let's get right into it. All aboard. This is the North Shore Station.
It almost figures. Touchdown.
Welcome back to episode 8. I think you just heard a little burp there from somebody. I'm not sure what that was. But we are back for episode 8. Week 13 just happened. Lucas has said it many times before. It feels like the playoffs are already starting. I mean, there are a lot of teams that are just on the edge, just in the hunt. And, I mean, the playoffs have basically started for them. Lucas, who do you think could be a sleeper team to either make a run in the playoffs or make a run right now to get into the playoffs? What team is on your radar right now?
Right now, I mean, I just keep looking at this AFC. The playoff race in the AFC just keeps heating up week after week. You know, it keeps giving all these interesting looks between division leaders and guys who might, make a run for the wild card position. But right now, I really like the Bills. They're the first in the AFC East. Not that division is all that spectacular. The Patriots are starting to get it rolling a little bit more, but I think the Bills are going to run away with this division. I think that's going to be pretty easy, to be honest. The Dolphins are right on their tail at 8-4, where the Bills are 9-3, but I think they're going to run away with it. Josh Allen right now, he's really heating up like he was early in the season. We talked about he was really hot in the early season. He had some really good fantasy points and stuff like that, some really good games. Then he kind of went through a cold streak. I think it was against the Cardinals or against the Chiefs it was in that one primetime game that was really rainy. He didn't look good. The Bills didn't look good. But right now I think they're looking good again right now. I think they're going to get it rolling. I'm not going to say the Browns because I don't like the juju around hyping them up. I've said it every week. If I'm going to think they're going to win, I have to bet on the other team, and I'll do it under the table. So I think if the Browns make it into the playoffs, they'll probably lose in the wild card. I'll give you a wink if you're looking on the video. But yeah, I like the Browns right now, especially after last week. But yeah, right now the Bills look really good. I'm not going to talk about the Steelers yet because I don't want Dom to get too emotional yet. And the Chiefs, obviously, I think they'll probably win the Super Bowl again because I don't think anyone has talent like them. But yeah, the Bills are a team that can make a run this year.
So right now there are only 2 teams in the NFL who've clinched a playoff spot. That's the Chiefs and the Saints. There are now only 6 playoff berths available for each division. In the hunt, for the AFC, we got the Steelers, Bills, Titans, Browns, and Dolphins. Those are Colts. Now there's 7 spots. And then right behind them, there's the Raiders at 7-5, the Ravens at 7-5, the Patriots at 6-6. And then there's a bit of a drop off to the Broncos, Texans, we don't care about those guys anymore. But I mean, I think the Ravens, the Raiders, maybe even the Patriots deserve a spot in the playoffs. I don't know about the Dolphins. I could see them slipping off in a few weeks. I don't think they'll hold that spot.
That's who I think that's who can break into the playoff race. They got a tough one this week against Kansas City, but then I think they can tough out. The remaining schedule is the Patriots, the Bills, and then the struggling Raiders. So maybe if they can pull up an upset this week, and then snag 2 wins at the end of the season, they could snag a wild card spot.
The scary thing for me is I think the Patriots are getting in stride right at the perfect time. I think they're going to be the sleeper team. They're going to make a late season push to get into the playoffs. I said it last week in my 3 best bets that I think Bill Belichick is starting to remember that he is the greatest football mind of all time. and he showed it. He beat the Chargers 45-0. Chargers aren't even that bad of a team, and I don't know. I think the Patriots are scary. I think they will make some noise towards the end of the season.
Especially coming down towards the playoffs because they have so much experience with Belichick being in the playoffs so long. Cam Newton's been to the Super Bowl before, so they know what it's like.
Yeah, I think it just might be a little bit too late for the Patriots right now. They're 6-6. They're 3 games behind the Bills. I don't see them making it as a division leader. But, I mean, if they went out 10-6, they could maybe snag a wild card spot and maybe, you know, make a run, like you said, with that vetted coaching staff and Bill Belichick being, like you say, Dom, the best mind in football. He can just beat teams with his brain. But it might be a little bit of too little, too late. But I like the Patriots, like you said. I think they're rolling right now. They can make a run.
You know what? This is the hot topic. This is what people came to hear today, I think. Let's just get right into it. Steelers versus the Washington football team. The Steelers take their first L of the season. It ends their 11-game win streak. They're sitting at 11-1. They could have clinched a spot in the playoffs with a win. They lose 23-17. Camden, I'm going to collect my thoughts here and try to calm down right now. I'll let you just talk about this game and your joy that you saw from them beating the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, it was not joyful until the second half. The first half was we were watching
until the last 30 seconds of the first half.
Yep, first half we lose Antonio Gibson almost right at the beginning of the game. The offense is going absolutely nowhere. Nobody can make a tackle. James Washington goes about 60 yards for a touchdown after Kendall Fuller completely forgets how to tackle. So it's 14-0 at half, and I figured
14-3.
14-3, yeah. They had to give us 3 points at the end of the first half. What even happened there was like we ran off the field with the ball, and
go ahead.
The thing that I heard about it, Pat McAfee, I saw made a tweet about it or something. So they want the kicking ball in, and the Washington. Alex Smith saw that they needed the kicking ball in, so he took their ball off the field, the normal playing ball. So not only did they have to stop the clock because they didn't have a ball to set, which I think was probably running through Alex Smith's veteran mind too. You know, let's get a little extra time, give them some time to set up. But also they got a better ball in because, you know, the K ball is a little bit different than the normal ball that they play with every down. So they got a better ball in. They got more time. The kicker got to get out there, settle down. The clock wasn't running down. They had 8 seconds from the time they were already set. So really, really veteran move from Alex Smith. Definitely illegal. Probably shouldn't have been allowed to happen.
100%
but,
illegal.
You know, I'm sick of hearing the Steelers fans all week say, "Oh, you know, they screwed us because that shouldn't be allowed."
You knew.
You guys have not seen any Browns games. You got to watch a Browns game from a Browns fan's perspective. The Browns the last like 5 years, just so many calls against that the refs have made that we don't even know what's going on the field. They don't even know what's going on. So I'm not going to get into that too much right now, but the Steelers fans, you know, I keep hearing about the refs this week, and that's
not to go off track, Lucas, but do you remember a couple years ago the Browns-Washington game when Duke Johnson fumbled and there was a big pile and Duke Johnson came out of the pile with the ball and they gave it to Washington?
There's pictures of him holding the ball next to the ref, and he's pointing this way, and we're like, it's right there. He's got it.
I remember that. I just remember
going back to the end of the first half of the Steelers game. I feel like in that situation, you don't get a K ball. You don't. You just got to go with that ball. You got to get up to the.
I don't agree. Being a Washington fan, I didn't agree. I was even confused. But I mean, that's just bad on the offense calling a play with no timeouts and not getting out of bounds with less than 10 seconds left.
I think Ron Rivera is a good coach. I think in that moment he wasn't. Do you think he knew what he was doing? Did you think he said, absolutely. Alex Smith, get off with the ball?
Yeah.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, this was definitely
this
was a career-defining win for Ron Rivera, I think. Probably the biggest win of his career.
Yeah, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall during the halftime speech because I'm sure he got that offense.
They came out.
The way we're playing in the first half is not working. We need to try to get the run game going, even though it didn't work. not having Gibson hurt. McKissick wasn't doing his best. Peyton Barber was awful.
I was about to say McKissick was
but in the receiving game.
Yeah, as a receiver, he was a very key part of the Redskins' victory.
Yeah, we do this against every team. McKissick just goes to the left or the right out of the backfield, and just nobody ever covers him.
Wide open.
And then he runs up and out of bounds for 13 yards. Like, I don't understand why nobody ever covers it. I'm not going to complain, but yeah, I think definitely. And then Washington's defense definitely helped us with the front seven. I mean, the Steelers could not. I mean, they barely even attempted to run the ball.
I think the thing with the Steelers' offense is they depend on defenses making mistakes, like blitzing too many people. One person makes a mistake, Ben will see it, and the receivers are talented and fast enough to create separation and make big plays. But with this one, it didn't seem like they blitzed one time against the Steelers, so there just wasn't much opportunity for the receivers to get separation.
I feel like this was the same thing as the Cowboys game. The Steelers make a couple better decisions. This is a different outcome. Like on, what is it, 4th and 2, they throw to their running back who comes out. Now, granted, he was wide open on John Bostic, a linebacker.
Yeah.
So I think if Roethlisberger would have waited about 0.5 more seconds, he might have had him over top. But still, like 4th and 2, there's no reason to air that out to your running back.
I think a separate issue with the Steelers is the run game. I'm not sure how many rushes they had in the game, but I know that they averaged 1.5 yards per carry, which just will not get it done. I thought Benny Snell was pretty good. But, I mean, it's not that our offensive line is bad, because Ben Roethlisberger hasn't been sacked at all this season, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he's been sacked once. So how is the offensive line so good at protecting Ben Roethlisberger, but they can't open up the run game? Lucas, I know you're a football player. Do you have any – like, what's the difference between an offensive line just being good at protecting the passer and then being good at helping the running backs?
Well, yeah, I think offensive linemen, a lot of them are built differently. And I think that, like, when you see a receiver, you see a guy who's either a possession receiver or a speed receiver. Maybe he's going to be good after the catch. Maybe he's good, just get it and get down. Maybe he's a red zone threat. I think there's a lot of that in offensive line too, and I think that's something that's overlooked a lot. Some guys are pass setting guys. Some guys are run guys. Some guys are better at guard because they're going to come out and they're going to be able to block a linebacker better on a different inside zone play, and some guys are better pulling around on blocking plays. And I think it's the same way in the pass game. I think a lot of the Steelers, they're more athletic side to side, and they can get in front of guys and stop them and protect Ben. But like you said, they weren't opening up any holes for the running backs. I don't think their run game looked very good. So I think that's one thing, is just different linemen and different offensive line groups are built differently. And I think this one's built for pass protecting and not for running. And I think that shows because, like you said, none of the Steelers running backs have been too impressive this season. I know you like James Conner for a stretch there. He had a good couple games, but he hasn't been in the last couple. And Benny Snell and McFarland haven't really been getting it done.
Nope. It's very, very sad to watch, especially they were on the 1 yard line, about to punch it in. They do 5 straight runs, I'm pretty sure, because of a penalty. So, I mean, I'm not mad
They also had the pass to the tackle.
Yeah.
Tried to go with the big man touchdown.
God, that one was horrible.
I'll tell you what, all around the league, people were trying to get it to the big man this week. The Browns had one. The Titans had an attempt at one earlier that they failed on because he was covered a little bit. The Steelers tried one. I think there was another team somewhere around the league that tried for a big man, either touchdown or just a catch. But, yeah.
It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of the Eric Ebron slander, Dom, or do you like Eric Ebron?
I like him a lot because he's definitely the most athletic tight end that the Steelers have ever had. Usually they're just gritty dudes, Heath Miller or Vance McDonald. They're just big, tough dudes who will just, grind it out. But Eric Ebron's he's an athlete. He could be a wide receiver. He makes insane plays with his hands.
He had some drops, though.
I was just about to say that. He had some very, very bad drops. He's not the only one, though. Juju had a drop or two. James Washington had a drop or two. Deontay Johnson had a drop or two. It wasn't good. Mike Tomlin said after the game, he said, I think This isn't a quote because it's not exact, but he basically said, if you don't catch, you can basically find another team. Like, you're going to be dropped if you can't catch the ball.
Yeah,
But,
I think Ebron is like one of the best tight ends you guys have had, like athletically and in the pass game. But I think you said you guys have Vance McDonald and like gritty guys. I don't know why Vance McDonald wasn't in there in that red zone package. I saw one tweet from a Steelers fan that was like, Eric Ebron like is very clearly like not that interested in blocking. Like, some guys just are more interested in it than not, and he seems like a guy who would rather make a nice catch in the back of the end zone and make a TikTok dance about it. But, there's just two different guys. And like I said, there's different breeds of O-linemen. There's different breeds of tight ends.
Yeah.
So I think they probably got to use him, the way he wants to be used almost,
I think that's another thing with why the run game struggles. Ebron isn't a good blocker as a tight end, and Derek Watt isn't that good either. I was really excited to get a second Watt on the team, but Derek Watt just missed a lot of blocks, especially on that goal line.
And then that's difficult because say you want to then throw Vance McDonald in there for more blocking, then the defense is going to be like, oh, they're running the ball. He ain't going out for a route. So then they're going to blitz 7, and the run game ain't going to go anywhere in that way either.
It's hard. It makes you one-dimensional. Yeah, for sure.
I was very upset with how the game turned out, especially the last quarter. But thinking back on it, kind of putting it in perspective, I can't be mad. I can't be truly mad about this game. Yes, we did lose to a team without a name. That did happen. But this team's got Alex Smith, the dude who almost lost his leg 2 years ago. Just his comeback is incredible. You got to root for him. Other than when he's smiling, when he's running off the field with the football, that kind of made me upset. But his story is truly remarkable, incredible, inspirational. And then, of course, Chase Young. You can't hate on that dude. He's a freak. He's built like the new Ninja Turtles. That's what he reminds me of every time I see him. He's just absolutely ripped and just freaking.
Yeah, like I said it on another one of our episodes. Like, he's not your typical D lineman. Like, he's like very in shape. Like, he could play tight end or fullback or something. Yeah. Like, he's very athletic, and that showed on that fourth down stand. I mean, he dolphin dove to grab whoever it was from behind.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that we didn't talk about early in the season. I think we had a podcast question about like who's a guy who you would want multiple of. Did we talk about that at all? Maybe I'm in another land, but he's a guy like Aaron Donald or like Khalil Mack who he's the best athlete on the field. Like, you could put him in any position basically.
So Chase Young, he transcends the position. He could play anywhere. He's also just a super likable guy. He seems real nice. We posted the video on our Twitter. Go follow us at North Shore Pod and go like the video too. But it was him talking to Coach Tomlin, or more Coach Tomlin talking to him. He said, "Man, I never want to lose enough games to get a player like you." I mean, it was kind of a backhanded compliment, I think, but that is truly respect. Like, you don't get a Chase Young if you're like middle of the pack, because he's truly a freak of nature. He's a once in a generation type player. Just the way he's built is awesome. He's very fun to watch. I can't be mad about this game as much as I want to. We're still 11-1. I tweeted this earlier in the week. So if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that we were going to be 11-1 at this point, I would have told you you're crazy. After everything that happened last year, not knowing if Ben would ever be able to throw a football more than 15 yards again. I mean, this is yeah, of course we don't want to lose to this team. This doesn't want to be the one. Well, I said earlier, this would be the team because they are super likable. They aren't the best, so it doesn't look good. But you got to be happy with 11-1. We're right on the edge of the playoffs. We're knocking on the door. I still think that the Pittsburgh Steelers could beat any team in the NFL. I think we will beat the Bills on Sunday in Buffalo. What do you guys think about that game?
I think it's going to be a measuring pole for the Steelers after coming off a loss, obviously first one of the season. So a lot of football is about how you bounce back. Once you get knocked down, how do you get up? How quick do you get up? And I think that's one thing that almost hurts when you haven't lost a game, is that you don't know how to go into a week where you have that bad taste in your mouth. You know what I mean? Not that they've never lost before, obviously. I mean, Ben's been doing it for a while. He's lost some games along the way. Not as many as I would have liked to see him lose, but he's lost a couple games along the way. So I think that'll be a really interesting measuring stick of how they bounce back and how they prepare in a week where they lost last week to an inferior team too. Obviously, no offense to Camden and Washington, but they're not the Steelers. They weren't 11-0 coming into this week. So they're a little bit worse of a team, and how do you bounce back from that? So that'll be a big thing to see. I think, like I said, I like the Bills a lot this year. I think they're rolling a little bit like right now, coming off a win against the Niners. So it's going to be a big measuring stick about the Steelers, about the heads that are in that organization, and how they bounce back from a loss.
I think another thing is a lot of the pressure is off our shoulders now. I mean, if you go into the playoffs undefeated, there's so much pressure on you to keep that going. So a lot of teams, you want to cool down before you get in the playoffs. Take one, wake-up call, and then heat up again, because we came in the season hot, and we just kept on getting hotter and hotter. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, though, we've been cooling down, and this was the one where it's officially cold. Like, just couldn't get anything going on offense. It's time to heat up again, especially towards the end of December. Ben Roethlisberger, I would argue that he is the greatest December quarterback of all time. I don't have the stats in front of me to prove anything, but I mean, he just wins games in December. Of course, we got off to a rough start, but the important thing is going in towards the end of December, and then that big game, the last game of the season, Week 17, against Lucas's Browns. And that leads us right into the next game that we want to talk about, Browns versus Titans. Let me say, I wasn't scared about the Browns at all, but after this performance, especially the first half from Baker Mayfield, Lucas is flexing this shirt right now, the Brown shirt. He's hyped because the Browns have officially ended their streak of non-winning season. It's been going on since 2007. Huge day for the people of Cleveland. Lucas, tell me how you were feeling. Tell me how you are feeling right now.
I mean, right now, I don't see a reason that Baker Mayfield shouldn't win the MVP this year. I mean, like, serious. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, yeah, I mean, people in Cleveland are excited right now, I mean, and how can you not be?
You got to be.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people that, like, after last week against Jacksonville, they're not a very good team, and we beat them by 2, and there were some people that, were kind of had a bitter taste in their mouth, even though we were winning, and they wanted to find things to complain about. But, I mean, even though it ended up being just a 6-point game because of some stuff at the end of the game and maybe we couldn't put them away, but still, like, we put up 41 points on the Tennessee Titans, who are a very good team. We basically shut down Derrick Henry.
You did.
We made Ryan Tannehill beat us. And, yeah, I mean, he played pretty well, but Baker Mayfield played better. I mean, it's hard to complain about a guy who had 4 touchdowns. He hasn't had an interception since the first possession against Cincinnati. In week whatever that was, I think week 7 it was. And then after that, he had 5 touchdowns. So right now he's looking really good. He went that 3-week stretch without a touchdown, but he still took care of the ball. Didn't have an interception. I think he wanted to settle in a little bit more. We lost Odell Beckham Jr. We leaned on the run game a lot. He needed to settle in, and now he has. He looked good. He hit some open receivers, unlike last week where he missed some guys. He made some really good throws again. I think his ball fakes are like one of the best in the league. I think that really helps, especially when you have the best running game in the league, which I think the Browns have right now with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think that offensive line is really coming together right now when they're healthy. Wyatt Teller has looked like probably one of the most improved offensive linemen, if not players, in the NFL. He's on the COVID list right now. I know he earlier in the week, I think it might have been yesterday, he was I don't know if he had it or if he was just contract traced to it, so that could hurt us in the next couple of weeks if he's not there. But they've looked really good. I like all the guys that they've brought in. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones, he had a drop touchdown, or else we could have had, we would have had 5 or 6 touchdowns in 5 or 6 drives in the first half if he wouldn't have dropped a wide open, basically touchdown. He dropped it on like the 3. He would have walked into the end zone. But then he made up for it. He had a big 75-yarder. And I think the Browns right now, their receivers are really settling in. Baker's really settling in. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are settling in. The defense is looking pretty good. Myles Garrett came back, had a big sack. The whole defensive front seven's looking good. The linebackers are looking all right. I think the Browns are hot right now, especially when we don't have one of our best defensive players and one of our best players overall, Denzel Ward. And once he comes back, I'm going to be really, really excited because it's going to be near playoff time, and the Browns are going to be talking about a playoff appearance.
I mean, this would be their first playoff berth in 18 years. That's insane. I mean, the people of Cleveland have to be happy with this. I do think that Baker's performance was amazing in this game, but I think the reason why the Browns are so good and why they're a scary team for me is Nick Chubb. I mean, the difference between when it's only Kareem Hunt and then when you got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb is really, really crazy. Nick Chubb is one of the – I'd say he's the second best, maybe third best running back in the NFL. McCaffrey and Saquon I'd put above if they're healthy. Maybe Dalvin Cook. Maybe. But Nick Chubb and you said it, Wyatt Teller, when they're hurt, when they're not in the game, the Browns just aren't as good as they don't reach their full potential. And then on the other side, the defensive side for the Browns, I think the key for them being successful is Myles Garrett. I mean, if you don't have Myles Garrett there, the Browns defense isn't good. I'm sorry to say it. But all of a sudden, when you add Myles Garrett, that's a decent defense. That's a defense that can hold pretty good offenses. So you need to keep Myles Garrett healthy. You need to keep Nick Chubb healthy. You need to keep Wyatt Teller healthy. And then another thing, this score, 41-35, it looks like it was a close game, but it was not at all. This game was not close. The Browns, I believe, scored on their first 6 possessions. So, yeah, they're hot. You said it best, Lucas. I am kind of scared of the Browns. I haven't said that, I don't think, ever, but Nick Chubb is the real deal. And if Baker's good, how do you stop the run game and then you stop Baker from throwing 4 touchdowns in the first half? Browns are a good team.
I think that this is the first time around this time of year where the Browns season isn't just like, all right, number 1 pick, here we come. Like, they're realizing we're actually competitive at this time of year. So they're hungry and they're ready to get to that playoff appearance.
They're a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they are. I think they're really exciting right now. I know everyone in Cleveland loves it. A lot of my friends from home were texting this week and just not stop talking about them. I got a text, I think it was yesterday. My one good buddy, Ryan, who always sends us in some good questions, he goes, guys, I love this Browns team. I just keep going on their Instagram and I'm looking at pictures that I've already seen. And I go on YouTube and I watch the highlights from last week and I just get excited. And I'm like, smile. Yeah, I mean, you can't help but do it. I mean, they look great right now. Like you said, Nick Chubb is one of the best backs in the league. And if Baker can settle in and keep giving us that, it could be scary, So hopefully he settles in, keeps that confident veneer that he has and, keeps winning us some games.
Let's talk about a team that has lost all confidence and who have not been winning games, the New York Jets, who continue their winless streak on the season in the most heartbreaking fashion ever. Hail Mary walk-off pretty much by Derek Carr in the Oakland Raiders. They end up winning 31-28. All right, first, the Raiders look good at the beginning of the season. If you got to beat the Jets on a Hail Mary, you aren't a good team. They don't deserve to make the playoffs. I think I said earlier they do. After this one, they don't. But the biggest story coming out of this matchup was that this was the game that got Greg Williams, the defense coordinator for the Jets, fired. I mean, that last play, they blitzed 8 people. Sorry, they blitzed 7 people. They have one as a QB spy, and then they dropped 3 people into coverage. I'm not a football genius. I've never really looked at a playbook or anything. But I think I could have done a better job than Greg Williams. He very much deserved to get fired after that.
And that's Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs, a very fast receiver on Lamar Jackson 2.0, if you will, the worst Lamar Jackson in the league in single coverage on the outside. Like, that's just, I mean, if you're going to tank, at least make it look like you're trying to win. I mean, that was –
Yeah, that's my part of this week. I think Greg Williams doesn't deserve to be fired because I think he realized, Jaguars only have 1 win. If we want Trevor Lawrence, we want the number 1 pick. You know what?
Yeah,
all dogs go. Let's go. Send the house. Hey, Derek, by the way, Henry Ruggs is over there in single coverage. You might want to toss it up to him. I think he probably sent a note in for Derek Carr to throw that ball. I think they fired him because he was the smartest guy on the field, and he knew that they can't win the game.
You might be right there. If Trevor Lawrence ever, by some miracle, brings the New York Jets a Super Bowl title, give Greg Williams a Super Bowl ring. I mean, you're right. It was, if he was thinking that is a genius move. But I mean, just by a football standpoint, having a QB spy on the Hail Mary, Derek Carr isn't like a guy who's just going to take off. Give it to Lamar Jackson, I guess fine. Don't let him get any closer. Don't give him one more shot closer. But Derek Carr, 3 people in coverage, what the heck? That made no sense at all. Just a horrible game. Horrible game. I didn't watch many of it except that last play. That's my only takeaway from this game. But I like your takeaway, Lucas, that Greg Williams is the smartest man on that field. Let's talk about a coach.
He knows what he's doing. He knows how to lose. He was with the Browns.
Let's talk about a coach who does know how to lose, Mike McCarthy. What the heck? How the heck did he get a job back in the NFL? Ravens versus Cowboys, the Tuesday night special. The Ravens had 294 rushing yards against the Cowboys. Now, that is the second most rushing yards allowed this season. The other time, also against the Cowboys, 307 rushing yards with the Browns. How? How do you I don't know what to say about Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys, because on paper, they do have what I think is one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. They just can't win games. They just don't know how to win games. It's pathetic. What are your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when you look at their roster and their defense, it's like, oh, they should be all right. I mean, obviously it hurts when your starting quarterback goes down, but even before that, like, they looked bad, especially defensively.
Yeah.
They had to put up a lot of points in those first 4 weeks that he was there, and they still lost 2 of them and should have lost 3 or 4 of them, whatever it was, because they had that comeback win against the Falcons, that improbable Greg Zuerlein watermelon kick that got them the ball back and won it on a last-second field goal. But
Speaking of watermelons, come on, Mike McCarthy. We need the watermelons back. We need them back.
This whole team is just centered around watermelons, I guess.
The Dallas watermelons. That should be actually the Washington watermelons, you know?
Yeah.
We need a name.
Remember that old backyard football game that used to have the watermelons as one of the mascots?
They did have a melon team. I forgot about that.
That's what they got to go with. But yeah, no, I don't know what's up with the Cowboys right now. They look really bad. I think they might just put Gilbert back their quarterback. Honestly, just see what he can do for the rest of the season.
But yeah, like you said, allowing 294 rushing yards, that, not having your quarterback doesn't help that or not. Dak Prescott's not stopping the run. Dak Prescott's on offense. So the excuse that, we lost our starting quarterback, that means nothing when your defense is getting torched by the Ravens.
I agree with you there. I can't argue about that. All right, NFC East Watch, you know what time it is. We already talked about the football team versus Steelers. We just talked about the Cowboys versus the Ravens. 34-17 that game, by the way. Not sure if I said the score. These last 2 games in the NFC East Watch, just as entertaining. Well, I wouldn't say Cowboys versus Ravens was entertaining. I was pretty bored. But the Giants versus Seahawks. The Giants beat the Seahawks. He beats Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Pete Carroll, you name it, Jamal Adams, whatever. Seattle's defense might be worse than the Dallas Cowboys defense. You agree?
Hey, Dom, you didn't name the biggest name in this game. You didn't even mention Colt McCoy on the other side.
Yes,
what a stud.
Of course. What year are we in? Someone remind me.
Yeah, I don't know. He's like 34 now or something like that. But yeah, nuts. I mean, the ex-Browns quarterback came in and, did
ex-Washington quarterback as well.
That's right. Ex-Washington quarterback too. He's been all around the league at this point. But, yeah, like you said, Seattle's defense, I don't know what happened. They look terrible. And they only scored 12 points on offense, too. So I don't know what's going on with Russell Wilson, with DK Metcalf. Chris Carson was back. I thought that maybe that would help Russell Wilson. His stats with and without Chris Carson this year were shown. And when Chris Carson was on the field, his stats were, like, significantly better, less turnovers, more touchdowns, more yards. But it didn't help him at all. I mean, they only put up 12 points in this game. And if I'm – correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had a safety at one point, too, didn't they? I believe at one point the score was like 5-17.
Yeah.
So they had a safety. So the defense put up 2 points, and your offense only put up 10. So I don't know what's up with Russell Wilson right now, but I think if they're going to make any playoff run like I thought they would, they better get out of this funk quick because the playoffs are coming.
Here's another thing. The Giants are actually a pretty good football team, especially on the defensive side. They're actually really good. Another thing I'd like to add, I think Colt McCoy might have the coolest name of all time. Just the most suiting name for a human being ever. Colt McCoy. A dude that goes to Texas. I mean, that's a perfect name right there.
Pure Texas guy. I read a book on him when I was young, and I heard it was like that he had to be born in like Oklahoma or something. But just the most Texas thing ever. His dad brought a Tupperware of Texas dirt so he could be born on Texas soil, and he put it under the bed when his mom was giving birth. I don't know if that was true or not, but I'm pretty sure it was in the book. And I was like, what the most Texas thing ever? And a guy named Colt McCoy, like, of course, like, how can you not be a Texas kid?
This isn't good for Camden's Washington football team, though. I mean, they're right there with the Giants, and
they are a major worry in the division right now. That's who our eye is on. Definitely. And we already lost to them twice, so it's gonna be tough to come back from that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the league is recognizing them too as a threat to make the playoffs and, probably win this division because they flexed the Browns game with the Giants in 2 weeks to Sunday night. So they obviously see that, people want to see this team. They are a division leader right now, and they could win the division. I think the Eagles are basically out of this NFC East right now. We'll talk about them in a second, in that terrible game against the Packers. But it's right now. It's basically a 2-horse race between Washington and the Giants, and the Giants really surprised me this week against Seattle. So
yeah, like you said, Dom, their defense is no slouch. Like, even though he got put in the dirt by DK Metcalf, James Bradbury is probably a top 10 corner, probably top 7 corner in football right now. Like, he's balling. And the defense, I mean, their chemistry is obviously there. That team's been together for a while now, so they're ready to take advantage of this weak division.
This makes me question that Daniel Jones, I don't know, maybe you just leave Colt McCoy in for the rest of the season. He didn't turn over the ball, and Daniel Jones' biggest problem is turning over the ball. So maybe you roll with Colt McCoy. What do you guys think?
Might have to do it. Might have to give it to the wily vet. I think Daniel Jones adds – I mean, they only put up 17 points. So, I mean, it was enough to come out with the win. But obviously you'd like to see a little more offense. I think Daniel Jones runs this offense pretty well. I think he's done a lot this year with his legs. So I think that would probably be a reason they put him back in, try to get – as good as their defense is, like we said, Bradbury's looked really good. Blake Martinez, one of the linebackers that they picked up that used to be on the Packers. I'm not sure how many years he's been there in New York, but he's looked really good for them. Logan Ryan, his first year at safety for the Giants, he's looked really good. So, even as good as their defense is, they still need to score more than 17 if they're going to beat better teams or teams that play to their full potential, unlike Seattle did this week. So, in 2 weeks, if they only put up 17 against Baker Mayfield and the Browns, who are hot right now, I don't know if they'll win with only 17 points. So
true.
I think they probably will put Daniel Jones back in, and also because he's their future. You know what I mean? So,
is he though?
And especially
I think right now he's their future more than Colt McCoy is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so.
And especially with their offense, losing Saquon, they've had to completely change their game plan of how they're going to play entirely. Yeah. So I would put some of the Daniel Jones turnovers on that because he is inexperienced and he's now playing a different type of offense than they were planning on playing. So
yeah, the Giants would be way more scary with Saquon. Way more. A team that's not scary at all for any team in the NFL is the Philadelphia Eagles. They take a big loss, another nail in the coffin. I said last week it was the final nail in the coffin. Maybe it was the second to last nail in the coffin. This one, the final nail in the coffin. If this one isn't, the next week against the Saints will be. Carson Wentz has officially been benched for the second-round rookie, Jalen Hurts. Big news out of Philadelphia. The franchise quarterback in Philadelphia, who they gave $50+ million contract to through 2024. The Philadelphia Eagles are in a really tough spot here because what do? you roll with this rookie quarterback who he looked a little bit better than Carson Wentz, but he's not going to beat the Saints. He's not going to beat the Packers. I don't know. I feel really bad for Philadelphia fans right now.
Well, yeah, I think the fact that they've announced that Hurts is going to be the starter really signifies it. It's the final nail in the coffin. They realize, the Giants are hitting their stride right now. Washington's looking good, and it doesn't look like we're going to make the playoffs because the only chance we have is to win this division. And I think they're basically out of the race, like I said. So, although Jalen Hurts could bring some life, look good, I think Wentz might be getting moved on from in East Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. They might be moving on to the next quarterback. Might be seeing a lot more 2 jerseys than 11 this year and next year. And Wentz could be in a different jersey next year. Maybe even Doug Peterson's in a different coaching polo next year. But we'll see. I think these next couple games really determine that. Works too.
Unemployment line.
Yeah, I think Doug Peterson may have saved his job though with this decision.
Absolutely.
Because if you just sit there and you just let Carson Wentz look horrible, throw for 100 yards, 2 interceptions, whatever, you aren't keeping your job. If this is the guy that we drafted up to get, we spent so much money on, you can't keep your job. But if you're like, oh, let's just try this out. If they somehow now if they even just compete with the Saints, then I think Doug Peterson keeps his job. If they lose out though, Doug Peterson's job is in question for sure. You guys see him getting fired if they don't win a couple games?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think especially even though they had a chance to win the division, still have, but it's getting slimmer and slimmer by the week. He kept Wentz in there too long, and then in press game conferences, he's saying that he's happy that Carson Wentz is taking accountability for this. And I'm like, well, you need to be right alongside him taking accountability as well, because it's still your offensive game plan that just looks atrocious, whether it's Carson Wentz throwing the ball or not. So I think Doug Peterson is part of the part. Carson Wentz isn't playing good regardless, but Doug Peterson is part of that problem as well.
All right. Let's just talk about next week's NFC East. Like we said, Saints versus Eagles. We all got the Saints here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless Jalen Hurts comes out and just completely puts the whole team on his back, puts up like 41.
That would be nuts. I wonder what the line is for this, because I don't know. If it was like 11 points, I think I'd go with the Eagles here. I believe in Jalen Hurts and his ability to fire up this offense, because Carson Wentz clearly doesn't have that ability. Let me see real quick. It was Saints -7. Even they do have their backup quarterback, Taysom Hill, still in. But, yeah, Saints -7 I'd have to take there.
Absolutely. Free money.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And then the super hot Washington football team goes against the 49ers, who've been looking a little bit better lately. They did lose to the Bills last week, but pretty decent performance. But I think the Washington football team, that was what they needed. I think they beat the Niners here. What do you think, Lucas? I know what Camden thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Camden, is Antonio Gibson going to come back?
No, he has turf, though. He is most likely going to be out next week.
I think, not that makes a big difference. I mean, it does make a big difference, but I just was curious mostly. But I still think, I think Washington's rolling right now. And I think the Niners, while they're playing good and they're in a spot where, if they play really good and win out, they could possibly grab a playoff spot. I don't know. I think Washington's rolling right now, and I think they're really realizing we got to win this division if we're going to win. And, the Giants got a big game against the Cardinals, and then they got a big game against the Browns, too. They could easily drop 2 in a row. And the Niners just got beat. Maybe they're a beatable team. And I'm going to take Washington in this game. I think they're going to roll over, and, they're going to feel good. We just beat the 11-0 Steelers. And, the Steelers are 11-1 now, and that one is us. So I think Washington's going to roll into I don't know where the game is, but I think Washington's going to roll into this game and feel good and win.
Yeah, it is in San Francisco. This would make the
3 road wins in a row.
Yeah,
as the saying's been in the locker room, running Yo Trap, take over Yo Trap.
They've been saying that one now?
Yep.
Oh boy, they took that one from the Steelers, huh? That would make the Washington football team on a 4-game win streak as well. So Very impressive there. Giants versus Cardinals. This one could go either way, in my opinion. I don't know. Giants, like I said, they've got a good defense. The Cardinals don't have a good defense. They got a pretty good offense. So that's tough. I'd have to go with the Cardinals just because I believe Colt McCoy is still going to be the quarterback. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm not positive on that, but I think a week ago I would probably have said Cardinals are going to take this one easy. But the Cardinals have lost like 4 of their last 5. They lost the last 3 in a row. The Giants are coming off a big win, and I think they also see like we got to keep winning if we're going to win these games, win this division, and get in the playoffs. So I think the Giants are going to roll into another one, and honestly, that's going to get me a little nervous as a Browns fan because they play them next week, and I don't want them to get super hot, and then Browns don't show up on Sunday night. But I think the Giants are looking good right now.
The Baker Mayfield cycle.
That's what I was going to say. The cycle might just be starting over, and hope he doesn't call out the haters this week because that's just a formula for disaster.
He can't. And then the last game, the dumpster fest of the week, the Cowboys versus Bengals. I will not be watching this one. I will not have anything to say about it most likely next week. I don't care who wins this game, but if I have to pick one, I'd say the Cowboys just because the Bengals – if Burrow was still there, Bengals 100%. But the offensive line for the Bengals is so bad. And the Cowboys, they're probably mad right now. They'll probably want to hit the quarterback a few times.
Yeah, I think – I don't know who's going to win this game, but I think the losers of this game will be the fans of the Cowboys and Bengals because this game has – no bearing on the NFL, basically. The Bengals are out of it. The Cowboys are most likely out of it. I just think anyone watching this game is going to be kind of the loser in this situation. So I'm not even gonna give a prediction.
Not even a pick for that one. Camden, do you have a pick?
I'm gonna take the Bengals just because I'd never pick the Cowboys.
Camden's taking the Bengals. He's going against them. All right, that wraps up the NFC East Watch, the hottest segment in all podcast. Now it's time for our Twitter questions, but this week, only one. Let's read it out here. Ravens and Steelers fans alike are clamoring for a new offensive coordinator this offseason. Who are the best candidates out there? I don't even know who I want. Just got to be someone new. Yeah, the Steelers definitely need a new offensive coordinator. The Ravens probably need a new offensive coordinator. They aren't using Lamar Jackson the right way. But I think their problem on offense lies with how they have no wide receivers, no weapons. Dez Bryant, even if he's playing, he's not a weapon. Sorry to break it to the Ravens fans. He's too old, and now he's got COVID. As for coaches, that is a tough question. I don't really know who would be – I guess the first question would be what coaches are going to get fired after the season? I don't know who that would be. I know that Byron Leftwich, he was a former Steelers quarterback, backup quarterback. He was the Buccaneers offensive coordinator in 2019 with Jameis Winston. I didn't really do much there, so I don't know about him. But it would be cool to – I don't know. He can't be much worse than Randy Fichtner, the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. That guy is horrible.
I can't take it from the Steelers fans at this point. You guys are 11-1. Yeah, what's wrong with your offense? Just be happy. Just be happier. Oh, we're 11-1, but we got to get these guys out of there. We got to get someone in there. These guys stink. You guys lost one game. Take it easy. All right, let's see what they do in the playoffs. Maybe I think the Ravens maybe have a little more room to talk because they're 7-5 at this point. But you got to be happy. I mean, let's be happy for a little bit. Just see what happens. But I mean, they're 11-1. I think their defense is a big part of it, but still, I mean, it's not like their offense looks terrible.
I just feel like we could be blowing out these teams with the amount of talent we have, other than the running back situation, which is a disaster. I just feel like some of the play calls are just really, really poor. But you're right. We do need to keep in perspective. We are 11-1. You can't complain about that. But if we had to get a new offensive coordinator, I think the best option would be to try to get someone from college. I know Urban Meyer, that dude's unemployed. Lincoln Riley, he is employed, but he would be a game changer in the NFL for sure. He'll definitely be in the NFL one day.
think one big thing for the Steelers is whoever their offensive coordinator they bring in, if they're going to bring in a new one and plan to have him for the future, is you got to understand like what kind of quarterback he likes, because you guys are going to need a new one in the next couple of years. So, look at draft prospects, maybe you guys who are going to be in free agency that are available in the next couple of years. And, that's going to make a big decision too, because obviously your offense runs through your quarterback. And so that'll be a big thing when hiring an OC. Let's
talk about who I think is going to be – he's going to be the coach of the year, in my opinion, Kevin Stefanski. Right? He's got to be coach of the year.
He's up there for sure. I mean, how can you not be?
I mean, if you're turning around this franchise, you deserve a Medal of Honor.
I mean, 9-3, looking good. I think it's 5 wins in a row right now. And they got Baker back on track, and I think that's big. I think one thing that's helped this offense that we might have to assess in the offseason is that OBJ is out. Unfortunately, I hate to say that losing a guy helps us, but I think
it might be true.
It might be true. I think the way that Baker is, I think personality-wise I think personalities in a locker room is a really big thing that a lot of people don't talk about enough. I talked about teams meshing together and stuff, like the Steelers mesh together so well. And I think that Odell's a big personality. And I think when he walks into a room, he's the alpha. And I think that Baker Mayfield has never really been with anyone he's never been in a locker room where he's not the alpha. And I think his rookie year, even though he was a rookie, he was the number 1 overall pick. He was the Heisman. He had a lot of hype coming around him. He was the alpha. And I think that the receivers around him, Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, they saw him and they were going to boost him up. They wanted to win. They didn't need the spotlight on them. And I think that not that Odell demands a spotlight like he needs it, but people are going to give it to him. You know what I mean?
Spotlight
whether he
falls
wants it or
in.
not. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one thing that hurt Baker with OBJ around was that, that made him not the alpha, and he kind of had to take a backseat to him. And I think that's why we saw a lot of throws where it seemed like he was forcing it to him, and it was an interception, and they weren't on the same page because he's got to get it to the guy who is the alpha, who the spotlight's on. Where now the spotlight's on wherever the ball goes. It's not on one guy whether he gets it or not. It's on whoever gets the ball. So it's not as much pressure to get it to one guy. It's almost less pressure on Baker because he's now the alpha like he's used to being. And I think that Stefanski has done a lot for that, in that he gives him opportunities to be the alpha while being in his realm of doing play action, throwing the way he likes to when he's rolling out and things. So I think that's big. I think Stefanski's done a great job with this team. I think the personalities right now are meshing really well. I think his personality meshes with Baker's and meshes with the other coaches on the staff. And I think the Browns are going to be exciting this year, and I think they're exciting for years to come, hopefully.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski definitely has my vote for coach of the year. Since the beginning of the podcast, I've been talking – well, not since the beginning. A few episodes ago, I said that Pete Carroll's job should maybe be in question. We just got a question on Twitter, hot off the press, from @Yuri_Nagy10. He said, are the Seahawks contenders or pretenders? They should be contenders. They should be. Because you got Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks of this generation, in my opinion. You got DK Metcalf, one of the most physically gifted players of all time, in my opinion. You've got some studs on defense, Carlos Dunlap, Jamal Adams. They should be contenders. They should be. But unfortunately, this season, they are just pretenders. They've had some really tough losses, especially the Giants. And then beating the Eagles in the way they did, they should have beaten them by a lot more. That's just my thought. I think the Seahawks are pretenders. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that Eagles game was the one where they could kind of just win from showing up, and they kind of showed that by, like I said a week or two ago, whatever it was, that they went for it on 4th down twice in the first quarter, and they didn't get it either time, and it didn't matter because they knew they had so much better talent that they're going to win this game no matter how good or bad we actually play. We're going to win the game. And I think, unfortunately, that's not how it is in the NFL. You're not going to be able to do that except against, a really bad right now Eagles team. So I think they have the potential. I mean, they're still 8-4. They have the potential to be contenders and come back. I think whenever you have Russell Wilson, you always have that because he's just a guy who's, a winner. I don't want to sound like Colin Cowherd, but he's a winner. And, I think that's what makes him one of the best quarterbacks, in this generation. But right now, yeah, they're pretenders, and they need to turn something around if they're going to be contenders again. Camden, what do you think?
Pretenders for sure. I think seeing this on the schedule for Washington at the beginning of the year, I chalked it up as an immediate loss. But now this is definitely a winnable game for us. Especially with how our offense has looked and their defense has looked, I think our bad offense and their bad defense is gonna, it's gonna be the battle of the bad. So definitely pretenders.
Thank you to Yuri Nagy and Mark Santos for sending in Twitter questions this week. Make sure to send in some more questions, everybody who's listening. Follow us on Twitter and send in questions next week at North Shore Pod. And, of course, send in a voicemail if you want your voice to be featured. 717-818-8657. Thank you very much. All right, let's move into it. Today's top 3 brought to you by ADHD Apparel, the flyest clothing on the market. ADHDapparel.com has all the stuff you need, some sweet shirts, some dope socks, anything you need. You're going to need to cop some of that sweet merch. Go there, ADHDapparel.com. All right, today's top 3 is, we already mentioned it, quarterbacks who could be elite at another position. We already mentioned Taysom Hill, so we don't need to mention him. I'll start first because I think this is the third top 3 that we've done, so we're back in the cycle. I could go with the easy pick. I could go with Lamar Jackson, running back, make the joke about how he's a horrible quarterback. I'm not. I'm going to go with the serious answer. Josh Allen. Josh Allen for running back. He's 2 inches taller than Derrick Henry. He weighs about 10, 15 pounds lighter than him, and he's fast. He's big. He's bulky. He doesn't go down easily. It would be fun to watch Josh Allen at quarterback. Maybe a little too big, but it would be cool. He could change the game like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I like Josh Allen. When I saw Josh Allen on this list, I was actually going to say tight end.
That's
I like
a good
him
one too.
He's caught some passes this year and last year, and I think he's got good hands. I'd like to see Josh Allen. They said it on one of the NFL stations, like if he really wanted to, he could probably just put on 10, 15 pounds, maybe 20 pounds and just switch over to tight end. But, obviously he's got an all right arm on him. So I don't see that happening.
But he could be elite. He could be elite as a tight end or running back, maybe.
No, for sure. I think he could be like Logan Thomas. Maybe, needs a Tommy John surgery or something happens to his shoulder and it's shot. Just switch over. Why not?
No big deal.
I'm looking at this list, and I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts. I think we already saw him basically at a wildcat position earlier in the year. So why not just switch him that way full time? Why don't you just go something really crazy and just do 2 quarterbacks? And the Eagles already have a crazy enough offense that seems to not work, and they already have crazy enough guys in their front office and on their coaching staff. Why not just go complete craziness and just have 2 quarterbacks in the backfield at all time? Just put Jalen Hurts back there right next to Carson Wentz. Never know who the snap's going to or who's going to throw the ball. But
that would be game-changing.
Yeah, just completely change the game of football. Put Jalen Hurts in there at running back though, or maybe even one of those slot receivers that's like an H-back. We saw Braxton Miller did it in college, and I think Curtis Samuel kind of does that now, where he's like a mix between a running back and a slot receiver. But I think that would be a great spot for Jalen Hurts if they wanted to just switch him and they loved Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz was having an MVP season and they needed some more help at receiver and running back, I could see them doing that for sure. So Jalen Hurts is my pick.
Nice. All right, Camden, what's your first one?
I'm going to go with somebody who position change could be a possibility. Dwayne Haskins, if the quarterback situation keeps looking bleak for him, if he just can't get that going and nobody wants to give him a shot in the trade market or anything, talk to Coach Rivera and say, let me try receiver, see if I can. He's athletic, he's big, big target, and it's a possibility.
I would put that on the list because I thought the exact same thing, that his time at quarterback may be running to an end. But I did not think of him as a wide receiver because that dude is not fast. He is not fast at all. I could see him
a couple pounds and
I could see him being like putting on a lot of pounds and being like a defensive tackle or defensive end.
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know about receiver for him. He doesn't seem to have as much agility as some of the other Ohio State quarterbacks before and after him.
He'll try.
Not a bad pick though. Not a bad pick. All right, my second one. This one will be a tight end who I could see being an elite tight end. Another person whose time at quarterback is coming to a close, at least with this current team, it seems like Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz could be a really good tight end. He's big. He's bulky. You probably have to put on a couple more pounds of muscle, but he's too much of an amazing athlete to be wasted sitting on the bench. Eagles, put him there. Put him right next to Ertz and Goddard. Third tight end, Carson Wentz. I like it. I like that one a lot. It'd be fun to see. Except he is too injury prone. He wouldn't be able to take those big hits.
Yeah, true. He's I mean, I don't know. He's taken a lot of hits this year, and I think he's been sacked more than like anyone in the league. I think I saw Kendall at one point tweet. But so I don't know. The injury prone thing might be gone for him. But quarterback, I want to say Baker Mayfield a little bit because he made one really good catch this weekend. They did kind of a little Philly thing, and Jarvis kind of had a guy in his face and he lobbed it over him, and Baker made a nice little like spinning catch on the sidelines, got the feet down. I was impressed. It was on like third or fourth and short too. It was a risky call, but it worked out. But
he's made a couple catches, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he had a touchdown, right?
His rookie year is a 2-point conversion.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they did basically the Philly like they did in the Super Bowl. They went the other way though because Jarvis is a lefty. But yeah, he's had a couple good catches, and that one really impressed me because it wasn't an easy ball. He had to like jump up and reverse pivot for it. But I'm gonna say Kyler Murray. I think he's just one of the most versatile athletes in the league and maybe in all of sports. I mean, he's a baseball player. He's a football player. He can throw the ball a mile, and he's fast as the Dickens. And I think he could be another guy like Curtis Samuel. I don't know how his hands are, but I would assume. Yeah, his size would hurt him a little bit, but I think Curtis Samuel, like I said, in that H-back position where it's kind of a running back, kind of a receiver and different things where he's just your speed guy. But I think you could work him in there. And I think Tyreek Hill is a guy that shows, size doesn't matter as much as some guys might think at those skill positions.
I like it. Solid. All right, Camden, what's your second one?
I'm going to go with Russell Wilson for almost all the reasons you just said about Kyler Murray. Two-sport athlete, very athletic guy. And I think throw him at corner, even though he's undersized, throw him on the slot corner for whoever you're playing against. And, he's not going to get burnt deep because he's one of the fastest. He's got some speed on him. So I think he could help Seattle's defense out a little bit.
Double an Ironman athlete on both sides. That would be sick.
Like a Bo Prabula.
Shout out Bo Prabula, the Central York standout going to Penn State. Maybe we'll try to get him on the podcast in the future. All right, Russell Wilson. That's a good one. I was thinking about it for sure. All right, here's my third one. And you're going to laugh when I say it. Ben Roethlisberger. Now.
Yeah, you're right. I am going to laugh.
Now, the position here.
I was going to say, is coach considered a position? Because I don't know if
Ben Roethlisberger for punter. Insert that clip right here.
There you go.
He had one elite punt.
I remember that.
One time. So, I mean, that was my joke of the top three. I wouldn't want to see him there, but he could be elite as a punter.
I could see that. He does run the pooch punt pretty well, and they did it in the past with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Josh Rosen as my next pick. I think he's a guy who, like Logan Thomas, I don't think he's going to play quarterback anymore, and he's 6'4". He's a good-sized guy, maybe put on 20, 30 pounds, work on those feet, work on that route running. Why not? Why not put him at tight end? Maybe get him some blocking coaching, blocking skill position, stuff like that. And why not? He's obviously not going to play quarterback anymore. He's on the practice squad for the Bucs right now. Like, let's just be honest. His career at quarterback's over. But he was a number one pick. We should put him on the field somehow. Why not switch him to tight end?
we should just be agents for some of these players. I mean, these guys' careers are really fading out. We're bringing them back to life.
That's right. Why not? We could do it for sure. Make some extra dough on the side.
Hey, no problem with me. All right, Camden, what's your last one?
I'm gonna go with this one's a stretch, but we're gonna go with Patrick Mahomes. Put him at linebacker just because it's a far stretch, but throw him at linebacker just because of how well he will be able to read a quarterback's eyes. He knows how it works. He'd probably get trucked when they play the Titans and he'd get put in the grave, but it could help on third downs and stuff like that.
I'd say Deshaun Watson could maybe be a linebacker.
Yeah, I was thinking about someone who could rush off the edge, and I was looking for someone I would like to see on defense, but yeah, I don't know. That wasn't the one that I would expect to play linebacker for sure, especially one of the greatest quarterbacks maybe of all time.
All right, that wraps up today's top 3. We just got another question in for Twitter, so we'll just answer this. Did Doug Pearson make the right decision in benching Carson Wentz, and what after effects do you anticipate to come out of this situation? Do you see any scenario where the Eagles and Wentz can rebuild their relationship? Oh, man. So we kind of already discussed how Doug Pearson, the after effect might be that Doug Pearson saves his job, but if they lose with Jalen Hurts and he loses his job, and then we'll skip that part of the question. We'll just focus on, do you see any scenario where the Eagles and Wentz can rebuild their relationship? I do think there's a few scenarios, very few scenarios out of millions, that they can mend this relationship, and that is because there's so much money tied to Carson Wentz. So you kind of need to give him one more shot next season. Unless you get really good trade offers for him, then ship him out, and then there's no scenarios where they can rebuild it. But there's so much money, they almost have to keep the guy. So the only way this would happen is if he starts next year and plays good, plays like how he did his first couple years in the league.
Yeah, I think if they can bring more receiver and O-line prospects or talent in, and then that can help Carson Wentz improve back to what he was, I think can go right back to normal.
Yeah, I think that one thing is if maybe the front office likes Carson Wentz more than Doug Peterson does, and they fire Doug Peterson, get rid of him, and Carson Wentz is still there, and they, like you said, they have him until 2024. Like, that's what his contract is through. So maybe they do just keep him, and then they bring in a new coach who works better with Carson Wentz, and that could be a great way that relationship is mended, and Carson Wentz could go back and maybe have another MVP possible season.
All right. Now officially this wraps up the Twitter questions. No more from this point. I was talking a little trash on people not sending tweets in, and then all of a sudden people just want to. Yeah. People got all
a couple late ones.
Yeah, a couple late tweets in there, but that's great. We love it. All right, that wraps up tweets. That wraps up the top 3, and now for your favorite segment, the money making segment, the fadeaway 3. This is not an ad for gambling. You have to be you got to be 21 or older too.
I hit a short one yesterday. I hit a short one last week, so I'll get more into it.
That one I saw. This isn't an ad for gambling. You got to be 21 plus. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. These odds are from the FanDuel Sportsbook as of Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. The games of the week, this is a new part of the fadeaway 3. This isn't part of the 3. These are just interesting lines, the best games, the most confusing lines, in my opinion. Steelers versus Bills. The Bills are favored by 2.5 points. Camden, if you have to pick Bills minus 2.5 or Steelers plus 2.5, which one are you taking?
I think I'm going to take the Steelers on this one. Like you said, that loss was needed. Now they're like, all right, no more TikTok dances, no more cockiness. We're here we got our loss out of the way. We're humble. We're here to win games now. I think the Steelers absolutely come in and train wreck this one.
Lucas, what about you?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back, seeing as that they haven't had to bounce back really from anything this season. So that'll be interesting. But the one thing down the road is, maybe if the Bills win this game, the Colts win the game later when they play the Steelers in a couple of weeks, Week 17, we could have 12-3 Browns and 12-3 Steelers playing for the division title. I think that could be a pretty exciting game. So,
Yeah.
But I think, unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen because I think the Steelers are probably going to bounce back. And I think Ben's leadership is going to take over a lot this week. I think that's going to show.
Plus 2.5. I think I'd even take them if they're minus 2.5 if they're favorites. I think this is a major bounce back game. I think that being on primetime Sunday Night Football, we haven't had too many of those games. It adds another level of energy to these games, I think. Yeah, I think I got to go with the Steelers here. I had something else I was going to say. I forget. All right. The next game of the week, Patriots versus Rams. Rams are the favorites here, minus 5.5. The Patriots are underdogs again. Last week they were underdogs to the Chargers, and they ended up winning 45-0, which is pretty insane. Vegas got that one completely wrong. 5.5 points to the Rams. I do think the Rams are a good team. And I also think the Patriots, like I said earlier, they're starting to get in the stride of things. They're starting to start figuring out how to win games with this team. But I think the Rams defense is a little too good. And I think this game, all the Rams games matter or depends on if Jared Goff has come out to play. If he starts hot, then if he's playing good, then the Rams are going to win by a lot. So I trust in Jared Goff in this one. I'm going to take the Rams minus 5.5. Lucas, what do you think? Which one are you taking?
The 5.5 is a lot, especially against the Patriots, who right now, I think December is the time for the Patriots to, like you said, hit their stride. And I think Bill Belichick's got this team where he wants them right now. I think Cam and the other boys in New England right now are excited. I think their special teams are really looking good. They had, I think it was 2 special teams touchdowns this week. Or was it maybe the one was they had a field goal block and then the punt return. So yeah, they had 2 special team touchdowns this week.
But bad special teams for the Chargers.
Yeah, true. The Chargers obviously have, their whatever their record is, it's that way for a reason. They haven't looked good this season. I think special teams plays a big part in that. But yeah, I think 5.5 is a lot, so I'm going to take the Patriots here plus 5.5.
Solid. Camden, what about you?
I'm going to go with the Patriots as well. Jared Goff's my guy to hate on, but I think Belichick is going to know how to shut somebody like him down, even if they don't have the personnel to do it. His game plan is going to be enough. And again, like Lucas said, 5.5 is a lot for 2 teams that are in the middle of the pack. So I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Yeah, I was having a tough time with that one. I wanted to take Patriots as underdogs again, but it all depends on Jared Goff. I believe in him. He's been listening. He's been fired up. He's ready to take off against the Patriots. All right, now it's time for the fadeaway 3 best bets. I'll go quick here. I'm going to take the Texans minus 1.5 versus the Bears. Texans had a rough loss last week versus the Colts, I believe. Tough loss there. A bunch of tough losses for the Texans. This one seems like when they lose, they're usually putting up a fight. That's what I mean to say there. The Bears won't put up much of a fight. They're kind of they're pathetic. That's what I'm going to say there. Texans minus 1.5 is easy in my opinion. And the second one, another team that isn't very good is the Oakland Raiders. And I've bet on them twice, 2 weeks in a row, and they've lost both times. So I'm done betting for the Raiders. Now I'm betting against the Raiders. Colts minus 3. Colts have been looking really good. Phillip Rivers has been looking pretty good. They're going to be in the playoffs for sure. They're playoff contenders. Maybe even I could see if Steelers don't make AFC Championship, I could see Chiefs and Colts maybe. That would be the other foreseeable matchup I could imagine. And then my final pick, I think this one's the easiest one of the week. Steelers versus Bills under 46.5. 2 amazing defenses right here. And I can't really speak much on the Bills offense, but as for the Steelers offense, they struggle putting a lot of points on the board, and especially against a really good defense like the Bills. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Yeah, under 46.5. Lucas, what are your 3 bets this week?
Yeah, I like looking at your lines. I think that under is pretty juicy. But the one that I'm going to take and go against you is I'm going to go Raiders plus 3 versus the Colts. The Raiders, like you said, you bet on them 2 weeks in a row and you haven't been able to get them. either time. So I think that shows that, one, the Raiders aren't your team to bet on. So I'm just going to bet opposite of what you say. But also, I think the Raiders do, like you said, they've not looked good the past 2 weeks. And I think last week especially was kind of a reality check where they had to win on that, last second Hail Mary. And even if Greg Williams was trying to throw the game, it's still an uplifting play for a team. So I'm going to take the Raiders here +3 against the Colts. I like that. I think they're going to bounce back. I have Packers -7.5 versus the Lions. I know anytime the line is like a 7 or 6 or 7, I kind of get a little weary of it. But I think the Packers are rolling right now. I think Aaron Rodgers is still having an MVP season. I think the Lions are just falling apart. So Packers -7.5 I'm going to take. And then the Vikings +6.5 against the Bucks. I think 6.5 is a lot, like I like to say in the NFL. But I think the Vikings are looking all right now. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are looking spectacular for them. And I don't know how well the Bucks are rolling right now. So I think the Vikings, if they don't win this game and shock the Bucks, I think they at least cover the spread of 6.5. So, yeah, Vikings +6.5 is my final pick.
I like those ones. I like the Vikings pick a lot. I like the reasoning behind it. Very solid. Camden, what are your 3 picks before we wrap the show up?
I'm going to start out with my boys. Washington +3.5 versus San Francisco. Again, going for the third road win in a row. We're hot. They're not. Big loss to the Bills on Monday night. So I think Washington takes that one pretty easy. Arizona -2.5 versus the Giants. Like I said earlier, like we talked about earlier, the Giants are hot, but I think Arizona uses this as a bounce back game. They see this as a very winnable game, and they see that they can take advantage of Colt McCoy being at quarterback. And then my last one, I'm going Chiefs versus Dolphins over 49.5. The Chiefs offense is always going to put up points. We know that. And with Miami pretty decent as well, I think they'll manage Kansas City's being somewhat lackluster. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game.
We lost Dom.
I'm back. Right? Am I back?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
All right, Camden. I like these picks. I like them a lot. The Washington one's interesting for sure. I could see that going either way. Kansas City versus Miami over. That's a bold pick right there because that is a high total right there. But I like it. I like it a lot.
Especially for Kansas City, even though I do think they are the best team in the league and they have a great offense. Their offense hasn't looked spectacular the last couple weeks. It's not like they're really blowing anyone out. So 49.5, like you said, Dom, that's a high over.
Yeah, I'd say so. That is the fadeaway 3. Those are our 9 best bets of the week. We each gave you 3 to win some money. 9 different bets. You don't get that anywhere else, folks. So make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Spotify. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and now on YouTube. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment if you enjoy.
Share it with your friends.
Share it with your friends.
Post it on Facebook or something. I don't know.
Post it on Facebook. Post it on MySpace. It doesn't even matter. We just need some exposure out here. That's all we're asking. Week 14 coming at you very soon. Some really good matchups. Bills versus Steelers. Pats versus Rams. It's getting awesome. The season's about to conclude. The playoffs have basically already started. And we just got to wait, sit tight, and see how this playoff picture starts to form up. Thank you all for watching. We will be back next week for episode 9. Follow us on Twitter at North Shore Pod to stay updated with everything with the podcast and see some funny, sometimes not so funny. We miss sometimes. We bat about 500, which is pretty good. So follow us there to stay updated with everything and be entertained. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Boy, it's cool, rap on the rap track. Yeah. All the guys that would hate, now I laugh at. Whoa. All the girls that would dash trying to Snapchat. Cause I'm ballin' like the Dukes, I got mad stats. I got mad racks, I got mad stacks. Cause I'm ballin' like the Dukes, I can shoot like the troops. I can pull up in a coupe, yeah, I'm riding in a hatchback. New roof, matte black, bet you can't catch that. Share this little song, that's a hashtag. Hot bar so clean, undefeated home team. Went to go get a signed shirt and they know me. At the club, don't got gotta flirt cause they know me. Boy, I'm big news like Post No Gazette. Living like Offset, dancing like the Dukettes. I just left a blonde girl, found me a brunette. Cause she just asked for my name on her crew neck. Yeah, on gang, on nose. I sneeze cause my flow too cold. And I'll put you on hold, don't play no games. You know my name, I pull, I drain. Cause I ball like James, like Hughes, like Tavion. And my rap songs way harder than Le'Veon's. Trying to outrun TK in a marathon. I be getting plays from the south like the Amazon. And I'm getting clout for the low like it's Amazon. You just have a gram of some clout, boy, get it by the pound. Started from the bottom, really built from the ground. Now my phone blows up when I pull up in my town. Did he say he wants a shout out? Boy, I'm not sincere, I won't carry you around. Is my last name Flex? Do I look like a clown? If you see me and Max, then you won't make a sound, no cap.
I got more bars than the jail next to campus. I'm a whole star, got the world on my atlas. If money is the art, then my drip is the canvas. Both pockets fat, keep the balance. No cap. Gave me lemons, so I showed up in the limelight. Fight night, bright lights, wanna Benz in all white. She got the wet, slip and slide to her doorstep. Hanes 4-pack, the way she bout to give the crew neck. Ballin' on them like a preseason. Send them sprinting, have them wheezing, got your heart beating. Started acting odd once I started getting even. I'm cutthroat, now applying pressure for the bleeding. Yeah, Avatar, I wake up in my ice. Spending large, I don't care what's the price. No, I don't. Watch me get $1 million in the night. All my dogs know we bite, so we're ballin' for life.